Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me today, I have two phenomenal women of God, women who are inspired and motivated into pouring into our youth, making a difference in their lives by taking their own journeys and their own experiences to pour into them, to show them better ways of handling themselves, better ways of conducting themselves, and making solid and positive decisions to be better men and women in their respective lives and in their respective journeys. And these ladies, they have taken time out of their busy schedule from their variety of different events and activities and works that they're involved in to just share with us a little bit about their journey, their beginnings, and just the whole process of dealing with adversity and showing you that you don't have to get stuck in those moments, that there is a pathway for you to overcome what is otherwise, from the outside looking in, an impossible situation. Nothing is impossible when God is involved, and they truly understand this. So without any further delay, allow me to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Desiree Robinson and Miss Sarai Johnson. Thank you, ladies, for being on the show with us today.
Hi.
All
Hello,
right.
everybody.
Absolutely. It's absolutely great to have you, as always. Whether I get to see you in person or get to see you in this format, you're doing some phenomenal work, and we're going to get into that along with some other things as we move along through the show. But before we jump into our segments, I do want to give each of you an opportunity to just give a general introduction about yourselves, where you're from, what you do, and anything else that you'd like to share. Just give them a little taste of who you are. So I'm going to start with you first, Desiree. Please share with our audience who is Desiree Robinson. What do they need to know about you? What you bringing?
Yeah. Hey, I am Desiree Robinson, CEO and founder of Lost Kids and Eminem Beginners Art School. I am born and raised in Dallas, Texas, in the Oak Cliff area. Born from a single parent household, and I'm mixed with Hispanic and Black, so I deal with all. What I do is, just teach the youth just a different type of way to release their trauma through art, writing, children's books, or just in general, and just learning how to navigate myself. So I can't wait to just see how all this folds.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Desiree. And like I said, we're gonna jump into your story a little bit more as we move along. And I'm gonna swing it over to you, Sarai. Tell everybody, give a little taste of who Sarai is and what she's all about.
Yes, so I am the founder of Dive Ministries. Dive stands for Develop Integrity Value Excellence. And so, with this program, what we do is we just help people dive into a deeper relationship with Christ with development, integrity, and valuing each other, and also walking in excellence. So I deal with youth and women as well. Again, it's all just about knowing who you are in Christ, so you'll know the purpose that you have in your life. With youth, I also teach them about just being holy and pure as God wants us to be at a young age, as and we'll get into like how God placed that in my life through the things that I've been through. And I'm also a domestic violence coach as well. So I mentor women who are in situations, who have gotten out of situations. Again, just letting them know who they are in Christ so they're able to overcome those things and be the woman of God that God created them to be.
That's beautiful. That is
Man,
beautiful.
okay.
Amen. Amen. Great work from you. Great work from you, Desiree. Audience, if you haven't figured out right now in these first few minutes that we've started here, you are in for a treat because these ladies are bringing it, and they're doing it from a place of authenticity, a genuine desire to pour into others in a very meaningful and special kind of way, and that's what I appreciate so much about them. And I felt it was a valuable and a necessary thing to bring them together today on the show and just share with you just a tidbit of what they're doing. We could talk for hours about just how broad in scope of the works that they're involved in, but I promise you, you're going to be blessed by the time the show is over. So, with that said, I'm gonna jump back to you, Desiree. I want you to think back to your upbringing, kind of take us back to the beginning stages of it all, because I believe that when you're talking about your life journey and all that's encompassed in it, you can't really tell that story without going back to the beginnings. And so that's where I would like for us to go right now with you and just kind of tell us, what was it like for you growing up, fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there was any specific challenges that come to mind that you were comfortable in sharing with us, what were those challenges and how did you navigate through those instances?
Well, that's a good one. I left my house at like 12 and a half, going on 13, and I didn't look back. So I've definitely went through challenges of being homeless, talking to other guys, selling drugs, you can name it. And it's been a journey, but it explains what all the things that I've been through of where I'm at now. So if anything, it was the homeless part for me. That was a challenge for me because I didn't know where I was gonna be. I didn't know who was gonna open a door. I didn't know, like, I was just telling someone the other day, like, I wish I had that person in my life was like, no, don't do that. Like, no, go over here, or no. But now that I understand why I was set apart, I'm able to show people how to overcome that challenge.
Well, first off, of course, thank you for your transparency and sharing just that early piece of what experiences with homelessness and at such a young age. So, if you would, I want to kind of build upon that a little bit. You said you basically you left home at that 12 to 13 range. What ultimately prompted you to make such a decision at such a young age? To do so? What prompted you to do that, or was it something that was forced upon you to do?
I just didn't like how I was being neglected or treated, as you say. And I never understood, because our parents went through trauma too. And we don't know, we're a child, we're trying to figure out ourselves also. So I didn't understand at the moment. So I was like, well, if I remove myself, maybe that'll be a little better. Maybe it won't be as hard as it was. And that's when the whole journey started. I actually was still in the same apartments where my mom stayed. I just went to somebody else's house.
Hmm.
And then it just started trickling down from there.
So with you separating out of your own home, and I'm assuming, I don't know, if your mom pressed you about coming back home, or if she made a decision like, hey, if that's what you want to do, if that's on you. But I'm just trying to picture what that experience is like, and of course capture it for our listeners. Like, were you still just like going to school like normal and doing everything like all other aspects of your life? Was that like normal? And then when it starts, the evening comes and you're trying to figure out where I'm gonna eat, where I'm gonna sleep, where I'm gonna get cleaned up, whatever. Is that where it started to get tricky with the whole homeless aspect of it all, or kind of help us bridge all those pieces together?
Honestly, it was like it was already there. I already had a place to go. It was literally behind my mama's apartment. And it was more like, she was like, that's what she want to do. Like, she just left the house. She was like, hey, but I'm still gonna put a runaway case on you. I still went to school. Still got my education, because I was like, I'm not gonna be no child that's gonna be uneducated. I'm sorry. I always went to school. So even though she put the runaway case on me, when they finally did catch up to me at the school, they was like, "This is the first place they find you at. Like, why did you come to school?" I was like, "I still want my education."
Hmm.
And so since then, I went to a runaway shelter, like with other women, and the boys was on the other side. And yeah, that's when the journey started there. So I always had somewhere to go, though. That's the crazy part. It's like God was very strategic of why He set me apart, and He always has someone in place, like, to take me in, or even if I stayed there for a night or two, like, I always had somewhere to wash my clothes, get good rest. My friends were very supportive of me. I just think, like I said, like, parents went through trauma and we didn't understand at the time, and we was trying to figure out ourselves. And so their parents was going through things as well, or they work late. So it's like they knew I was in the house or they didn't know I was in the house. So yeah.
That's a fascinating story, and I'm just trying to imagine, what that pressure must have been like on such a young child and a young girl, and and it's not, I'm saying it's funny, but it's not funny. Immediately as you were telling the story, this image came in my mind. I was thinking about, you know, Tupac song, Brenda's Got a Baby, and I'm just trying to
Yes.
envision this young girl just out here just trying to survive and make it, because the place that should have been home for her, that should have been a safe haven and a protective space, you revealed as not being really that. And it wasn't so much that you said nothing about that you had any kind of hatred or anything towards your mom or anything. You just said the environment just wasn't conducive for me and I had to get out. And you would think that the average kid at your age trying to do that, and being a young lady of that age, it would expose you to some things that could be very dangerous, very detrimental. But even in the midst of you, as you stated, being set apart from your home environment, God was still making sure that there was some protections in place. He put it on your spirit, keep going to school, put it on your spirit. Hey, if you're not going to be here, be at this neighbor's house or somewhere where you can have some sense of shelter, some sense of access to, things like food and being able to get clean or whatever. And then even with the runaway case being placed on you, once the authorities officially catch up to you, while you go to a runaway shelter, the bottom line is it was still shelter. It wasn't home, but it was your home in that moment. So at least I wasn't out in the streets, being subject to the elements, whether they be weather elements or whether they be violent elements or other toxic things that could have really changed the whole trajectory of your life. So I appreciate again your transparency in sharing that, and it just again it's just a testimony to just how good God is and how He strategically positions things to play out the way that they do, even when they seem bleak and insurmountable. We know the fact that you're still here lets us know, you've navigated some ways and some means throughout this process. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here to be able to tell us this. Just what you've even shared so far, and there's still more to share. So, thank you for doing that. I'm gonna jump to you, Sarai. Same thing. Take us back to your upbringing, your childhood, and kind of reflect on that and share with us what was that journey like for you. Fond memories, as well as if you had some specific challenges that you had to deal with in coming up.
Yeah, so I grew up in a two-parent household, but I had a father that was in jail. So I had that relationship, but didn't have that relationship. But the father that was in the home, like, he loved me like no other. He's been around since I believe I was months old. Um, but yeah, I grew up in a two-parent household. They went through things, but it was always still like a loving home. Um, but it was just always something where I would just have like low self-esteem, where I would always just feel less than. So it made me like see attention in ways that seek attention. And I didn't grow up in church until 16, but at that age, you're kind of already developed into whatever the world says that you should be. And so at the age of 17, I was raped by someone that was my age. That became a big old ordeal because I told my friends. They didn't believe me. So I never even told my parents anything. And so I began to start acting out because, again, I never had like bad grades. I was doing sports, but at that point, like, I was sneaking out. I was like taking my parents' car. Didn't even, I learned, like, out there again to do these things at the age of 17. Um, I was still able to graduate because, again, my dad was like, no, you're going to graduate if you don't do anything else. But a lot of things I just went through, I feel the enemy played on my mind because he knew who I was before I did. And specifically, my mom didn't know how to handle that. So she just kind of was like, that tough love. But the enemy played on that to make me feel like my mom didn't love me. And so I always grew up thinking like my mom didn't love me and I'm always a disappointment to her or I can't make her happy and things like that. So yeah, it just was, I had a great childhood. Like my parents did everything that they could for me, but that mental battle of feeling inadequate and not beautiful and insecure and not enough to anybody, that just led me to other things. And the only thing my mom did teach me that I know I remember, she was just like, wait till marriage. But when I was raped, and that was my goal. I had a high school sweetheart, like, and I was like, no until marriage. But when I got raped, I just felt like, oh, it's gone. And so I just began to be out here and just do whatever, because again, when you feel insecure or not enough, you feel like you have to use your body to secure a man or do all these other things to have that person like you. So yeah, that was kind of my childhood. Grew up in a great household, but those mental battles of not feeling good enough led me to do things that wasn't supposed to be a part of my journey. But I thank God for it, because it led me to where I am today.
Wow. Wow. So again, I have to start off in saying, thank you for your transparency and sharing what you've shared. It couldn't have been easy, as you stated, coming up, dealing with some of the things that you've shared. And it's really interesting. Like when you peel back the layers of what you say, it's like, okay, you started off, had a 2-parent household. So right off the bat, you're thinking, most people automatically assume 2-parent household, life is wonderful, life is great. But then immediately after that, you said, well, the dad that's in the household, he was the father figure, but my biological father was in jail. So it's like, okay. So I had a 2-parent household, but the actual dad, and you said that the gentleman that was basically dad to you growing up, he enters the setting like very early. Like you said, you're months old. You're still an infant. So dad's not the actual dad is not around. And it's interesting you brought this up, because Desiree and I were just actually, before the start of the broadcast, we're just talking about incarcerated parents and the impact that has on the children that they leave behind, whether it's their fault or not. That doesn't matter. It's just, the point is there's a separation, and how does that impact the psyche, the whole way you think of yourself and how you're coming up, and all of those things. How does that play out? And I don't know, you'd be able to answer that. I don't know if you feel like some of that low self-esteem, some of that trying to find your worth, if that had any, whether it was directly or indirectly, to do with your biological father not being around, even though you had a great male role model around you, and I'm glad that you did. It's like, I think for a lot of young ladies, and either one of you can respond to that, it's something about just not having dad, like the actual man responsible for bringing you here, that may feel there's a void, that you just don't feel that connection, that you wish you had that relationship. Would you say that was part, and do you think that had any part to do with how you thought about yourself, or how you felt about your value, your worth, or anything like that, the absence of your biological father not being around?
Yes. And so I didn't know that until um, I just kind of surrendered my life to God, and He began to reveal that to me. Because I had a wonderful father in my life, but I still longed for my biological father's love. And
Mm-hmm.
if I could just go a little bit into that, when he got out, there was still like no relationship there. And I was thinking like, okay, well, we can build on this relationship, but um, it just still kind of wasn't there. And then he got married, and my siblings were able to grow up with him per se in the
Mm-hmm.
household. And there was a little jealousy there. I didn't know again until God began to reveal these things to me. There was a little jealousy there about, I just wish he loved me like that.
Mm. And I feel that, because it's almost like you feel like you got cheated. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, he wasn't there in the beginning, because he's serving his time in prison. I'm anxiously sitting back, wishing, hoping for the day that when he comes out, we'll make up for this lost time, and it'll blossom into this father-daughter relationship that I always inspired to experience. And then He gets out, and it doesn't turn out that way. Not only does it not turn out that way, he finds somebody else to connect with, gets married, has a family of his own, and I'm sort of on the outside looking in, and that's a crazy place to be in. And if you've ever gone through that, anybody that has an opportunity to listen to this, you don't know what that's like until you know what it's like. I mean, even in my book, I talk about, my dad was, when my mother got pregnant with me, my dad was a married man. And so she knew right out the gate that he was not going to be an active presence, in our lives. So he had his family, I have half brothers and sisters, and, and the majority of them did not connect with me at all. I only had one of my siblings at that time, sister, who genuinely tried to acknowledge who I was and have a relationship with me, but the others, they never really did. And like I said, to see that, not have your dad, to know that he's there, to know that he has his own family, you kind of you just kind of feel that void. Like, I didn't have my dad to talk about some things that fathers and sons talk about. We didn't get to toss the ball around and, and go to games and stuff like that. Even though my mom didn't stop me from seeing him, it's still, there was still that void, that absence. And then, digging into what you shared so far about the relationship with your mom and how she was big on the tough love. And so, and usually you see situations like this happen to men that oftentimes struggle with this. But when you have that tough love scenario from the parent, it doesn't give you space to be vulnerable. It doesn't give you space to hurt, to feel pain, to feel, because you feel like you're made to feel like, as if you have those feelings inside, that it's a sign of weakness. It's a sign of, you can't make it. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. Suck it up. If you're a son that goes through that, boys don't cry. Men don't cry. Men don't. And so now you're walking around holding all of that in, never getting a chance to let it out, and then it opens you up to not only not having a true identity of who you are, but it opens you up to be perhaps maybe taken advantage of by people, because you're now seeking somebody that shows me some sense that they care about me, that I'm of value to them. And again, it just opens up the door to so many things that aren't necessarily healthy situations or healthy practices for you. So again, I appreciate you sharing this, because it's such a valuable conversation to have. And I know a lot of men and women have grown up in that situation, suffering from that in silence, and they carry that trauma into adulthood, not able to truly, again, unload, to purge that out of them. And it's rough. It's rough for them. So thank you for sharing that. I want to go a little bit further with both of you, in your respective journeys. And I'm gonna jump back to you, Desiree. Tell us about a time when you were faced with a challenging situation that this hits a little different. It was a situation where you questioned how I'm going to make it through this particular circumstance. How am I going to overcome this particular battle? I'm for the first time, or maybe in one of those rare moments, I'm doubting myself. Tell us what that journey was like for you, and what did you have to do to ultimately overcome it? Please share that with us. And just real quick, for technical purposes, when anybody is talking, we'll go ahead and mute our mics and let the other one talk. To kind of minimize any background noise. But please share with us, Desiree.
I'm gonna use a recent experience that just happened. I've been in a little wavery thing of transitioning. And when you're transitioning, you have to let go of familiar ways. And I always had a hard problem with that, because I always was like the center of attention. I'm always the go-to person everybody comes to. And I'm life be lifing. And people don't understand that, and they will unload everything on me, and it's tiring, it's draining, but I still push through. And literally like 3 weeks ago, I had to just stop putting people's problems on my plate. I had to stop drinking because I'm a leader. I had to stop smoking because it was just a fun activity in the environment that I was in. I even had to stop having casual sex because I'm a wife. Um, and I didn't understand until God was like, why is you instead of picking up things that I'm putting down? Why is you instead of picking it up? Like, that's not who you are no more. That's not who I never created you to be. But it was the environment of people, places, and things. So now I'm learning how to say no to some invitations. I'm learning how to say no to some people. I'm even learning how to say no to just friends, period. I'm okay with letting go now and letting God. That has always been a challenge for me because I used to be like, everybody likes to be around me and stuff like that. He was like, but they're not the right people. They're not helping you. They're keeping you at the level that you're at. And I never understood until like literally 3 weeks ago. And I'm in a better space now because I know like it's for my good. It's not to harm me. Like he's saying Jeremiah 29:11. It's not to harm me. It's for my good. And now I will start to see the fruits of my labor. Now I will start to get the new friendships that I've been getting. Now I will start to understand what my calling and being chosen really mean, because calling and chosen is two different things. You can be called to do something, but when you're being chosen, I'm gonna tell y'all now, that's a challenge because you really have to let go and let God. And last podcast I used the drug bust because that was an eye opener for me also, because I was praying that God get me out of that, because that could have wiped away. I wouldn't even be talking to y'all right now. But God was like, just because I give you grace and mercy on a daily basis, I'm going to get you out of this, but I don't want you to go back. Don't go back to what I already brought you out of. That was the experiences for you. That was for the journey, so you'll be able to tell your testimony to other people. Now I'm not afraid to tell my story. Now, like, I put no edits on everything I post on Facebook or Instagram, because this is me. This is the raw, uncut, authentic it's gonna get, because God created this and this is how it's gonna be.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I want to do a quick interjection for our audience. Something that you mentioned. This what we're doing today is actually a re-recording of our original session. We met previously, had a very powerful conversation, and we, at the beginning of every podcast, we talk about, technical difficulties can happen no matter how much you prepare for that. But we believe and understand that when you have a powerful message like these that you're hearing this morning, to share that there's an enemy, there's an adversary that's out there that's trying to distract it, and that's what tried to play a role in our first recording of our session, to the point to where it made it difficult to, in some instances, to hear and to understand the messaging that was being said. So we got together collectively and said, you know what? We got some powerful stories to share. We got some messages to put out there, and we're going to redo this again to make sure that nobody is denied this opportunity to be blessed by the stories and everything that we're sharing here. And even in this moment right now, just to let you know that when you're doing the right thing, when you're trying to share messages like that, the enemy will try to infiltrate, will try to discourage, will try to distract, but we're committed to not allow that to happen. And so we appreciate your patience and bearing with us as we work through our podcast and our little glitches here and there. But I promise you, hang in with us. We got a message to share with you. And with that said, Desiree, you referred back to one of the stories that you mentioned in our original broadcast, a challenge that you had just overcome that was huge, that even allows you to even be here in this moment to re-record with us. If you don't mind, could you please share briefly what that situation was with the, with that circumstance, just for our audience to understand just how God works, and not only getting you through that situation, but because of that, you're now here again to be able to build upon more and more the story that, build upon more and more the story that you've already shared, as well as giving people another example of how God can move in the most challenging and difficult of situations. So if you would, please share that with us as well.
Yes, I got fired and I started doing familiar things. and going to familiar places. And so I just left a business meeting, had a good meeting, and
I was saying, Sarai, if you could jump out of that other session, I think it may be creating an echo effect. If you can, just want to make sure we don't have any issues with our sound here, or at the very minimum, like I say again, we'll mute in between our
Okay,
conversations.
I jumped out of it. Can y'all hear it?
You're getting a double echo.
he's playing with us again.
Yeah, the enemy is busy. Thank you for your patience, audience. We're working out our technical difficulties here. Just back out of the sessions and come in on the one that you want to be on. So that way we don't have two going at the same time. That'll reduce the echo effect. All right, all right. So okay, go ahead, Desiree. We'll pick up where you left off with your story. I'm sorry about that.
Yes, so I just left a business meeting with my publisher, had a good session, and she kept asking me, she was like, "Where's you going?" I'm like, "I'm going home." And she was like, "Where's you going?" And I'm like, I literally was going home. And so on the way home, I was like, "Oh, I could stop by the spot and go see my partner, get a little money, smoke a little weed." Cool. Pull up, everything's cool. He told me to go downstairs and get his girlfriend and come meet him at the other room because it was his girlfriend's birthday. And he understands what I do, so that's one thing I do respect him on. He never kept me in the room of the things and the activities that he did do. He always put me in the room that he was not doing activities in. But that particular day, like I said, I wanted to get high, so I'm in the spot. I did what he told me to do, and I was like, "Well, he about to come right back over here, so let me go over here." And as I'm sitting there, not even 5 minutes later, they hit the whole complex. And I tried to, like, I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I tried to jump at that window, okay? Because I thought I was still young. And, when they come hit, they surround the whole building. And I'm like, bro, this is not happening. This is not happening. So they came in, they was like, "Put your hands up." And I'm just like, oh my God, like my whole career is gone, my life is gone. Like, and we literally sat outside for 3 hours. I'm praying. I'm talking mess to myself as well because I'm like, you wanted to get high so bad and lose everything that you worked so hard for. And as I was sitting there, like, and just looking around, like, God was like, "This is not who you are. You never been this." It was a place to, like I said, to get me through at the time that I was in. I wasn't in them times no more. But like I said, you go back to your familiar ways when you know that's not for you. And so after a while, they was like asking who everybody name was. And when they finally released us, like, I came home with sleep for like about 3 days, y'all. Because that was an eye opener for me. But it also showed me that God had his hands on me. God will get you out of some things, but he will also show you some things. You know, it could have went a whole nother way, but it didn't. And I'm here now to like tell my testimony once again because I know it's other people out there like me, sitting in the traps, chilling. I don't disregard what people do because everybody makes their own type of living. But at the end of the day, when you have a calling on your life and you're chosen, you can't be with everybody. You can't be everywhere. You can't. It's just not who you are, because I used to do what they did, but that's not who I am no more. So I love to share that part of the story all the time because y'all wouldn't be seeing me today. So that's how like, God favor is real.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I thank you for sharing that. I know with our first broadcast, you had mentioned that story, and I didn't want, since you had brought it up, I didn't want people to miss that because I thought it was a valuable story and just another example about how God navigates and moves in your life. He wasn't done with you yet. There was still
Yeah.
work to do. So even though you had a slip up, a setback, a moment of lapse, it's like, okay, it's not exactly where I wanted you to be, but guess what? I'm getting ready to navigate this situation. We're going to get you through it so you can continue on in this journey that I have you on. And we're just going to use this as an opportunity to further grow and develop you. This is another opportunity for you to have a testimony, not only for others, but for yourself. In those moments where you're feeling weak, where you're feeling vulnerable, where you're feeling like there's no way or that the old way is the best way to go back to, it reminds you, nope, this is why I'm delivering you from it because of things like this. I'm going to get you through this, but I need you to see how this could have played out had you not
Yeah.
had me in your corner to watch your back and be there for you and to show you that grace and mercy that I have plenty of supply of. I could tell you personally, he gives me it. I thank him for that every single day. Because we know that sometimes we just do stuff that we ain't got no business doing, thinking or saying. And I'm just thankful that we have a God that just doesn't kick us to the curb every time we slip up and mess up. So thank you so much for recapping that for us. I'm going to jump to you, Sarai. Again, tell us about a time when in this journey of life, you were faced with a situation that, unlike others, this hit a little different. This was a little bit heavier. You questioned how I'm going to get through this. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm ready to throw in the towel and wave the white flag. What was that situation like for you? And how did you ultimately have that breakthrough moment where you could see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, to come up out of that? Were you able to hear? I'm not sure if you were able to hear me, Sarai.
I would say when I was in that abusive relationship. So um, after the incident of me, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you. It was just a little delay. That's why I was just making sure you were good to go. But go ahead, keep talking.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So it was the again the incident of me being in that abusive relationship. So at this point, my parents had uh, and met a guy, kicked me out. Never been in that situation. Just doing all this stuff, and so I went to go move with, and it was like pretty bad. It was times where I was hospitalized. I went had a pistol to my head. I've been choked out. I was gonna die in that situation because he would just always threat like even if I would leave, he knows my schedule, he knows where I'm going, he knows what I'm doing. So I would rather stay in that situation rather than leave. Um but it was nobody but God's doing to give me the strength to actually leave that relationship again because I was still insecure, I was still weak. So yeah, it was nothing but God to give me the strength or allow God for him to push my child for me to get out of that relationship. I don't think if I would have never had a child with him, I would have gotten out of that situation and I probably would have died. But my child is what God got me does give those blessings. Even out of wedlock or done out of order, children are still a blessing for God to save our lives in situations.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. It's never easy to talk about being in a domestic abuse type of situation, and especially if that domestic abuse moment uh, transitions into impacting potentially impacting your child and that child's well being. But again, as we've been talking about all morning, when it comes to the challenges and the storms, the valley experiences of life, these things don't happen by accident. They can't come our way unless God permits it to do so. But we know that He makes no mistakes. So if He's permitting it to do so, there's a purpose and a process in that what appears to be a painful moment. And so, I mean, I just go back to what you talked about in the very beginning of the show when you were doing your general introduction. You come alongside survivors of domestic abuse. How would you be able to be even relatable in that capacity if you had not personally gone through it yourself? You can identify with the symptoms, you can identify with the emotions and the feelings and all that goes into it, the things that make women stay in those situations longer than they should, and what that does for you, what the impact that it has on your children and things of that nature. So again, I know in that moment it didn't feel good. Nobody wants to be in a situation where somebody is putting their hand on you in a non-loving way or an abusive way to the point where you're near death even. But again, had she not gone through what she went through, had you not had to encounter what you've encountered, it would have minimized your impact, your ability to relate to the people that you now are able to come alongside of, women who have been in have gone through the same situation, or maybe even going through it right now. You're able to speak to them in a way that's going to relate and connect, like somebody, unlike somebody else who is just going to give the textbook answers and the textbook responses to how to deal with those challenging situations. So I'm thankful that God covered you and kept you and protected you throughout that challenging moment. But at the same time, I'm also thankful that He's equipped you as well to have the strength to be able to come on platforms like this and tell your story, and have the strength to be able to again, come alongside the women that He's brought your way and will continue to bring your way. So you can pour into them in a loving and godly way, and in a setting that they feel safe to talk about these things and not be embarrassed and ashamed for decisions that they made or perhaps failed to make that have them in this circumstance that they're in. So I definitely appreciate that, Sarai. So as we move further, I'm sorry, did you have something you wanted to share, Desiree?
She done cut out again.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I don't know if she's still. I know her video is out, but if she's still, Soraya, can you still hear me? Okay. Well, we'll let Soraya work her part of it out. In the meantime, I'm gonna jump back to you, Desiree. When you find yourself faced with challenges, adversities, whether it's something really big or even if it's something minor, it's nevertheless a challenge that's before you that you got to deal with. You got to figure it out. What is the process that you like to go through that kind of helps you to keep a level head, keep focused as you're trying to deal with whatever that challenge is that is in front of you? What works for you in that situation?
I have a community around me as far as like women, my church family. I have good supportive friends, and Soraya is one of them. But I have a good community around me. But if I can't, talk with my community about it, I go to God. I pray. I do Bible study. Um, I just more like get in tune with God because God has the answers that we need. We can outsource and go without a parameter, but I mean, you ask, you shall receive. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I overcome that. I have a good. I'm gonna leave this with y'all. Get a community. Get a community around you that understands you and that will push you into your next level. Because we have some friends that will keep us at the level that they want to keep us because they see our potential. Let me tell you, the enemy see your blessing before you do. So he will use anything he got to use, people, places, and things. I'm gonna keep saying that. I never understood why they kept teaching us that in writing and reading class, but now I do. Okay, because it's here in this new form, in this new world. People, places, and things is very important. And yeah, I got a good community around me, and I appreciate every last one of them. They actually catch me before I fall. They don't catch me when I fall. They catch me before I fall.
Wow. Wow. Then that's awesome. Community is so important. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be a large community. It just, if you got a couple of people, one or two folks at least that, that if you're dealing with some situations, some challenges, I can go to this individual. I can be my authentic self and be transparent and not be in fear of judgment, of looking down upon me, but that I can be in this space where it's a space of comfort. It's a space of safety where I can just pour my feelings out and know that the person on the other end, that they're not going to only listen in love, but they're going to pour back into me in love. They're going to tell me not what I need, what I want to hear. They're going to tell me what I need to hear. But even when they tell me what I need to hear, they're going to do it in love, without the judgment, without the embarrassment, without the shame being placed upon me. So I definitely appreciate you talking about that community aspect, because it is such a vital a thing to have in our lives. And the thing is that a lot of people don't have it. But they need it, or maybe the community that they have is not the community that's going to be best for them. So you have to have that discernment even to decipher, okay, who do I need to be sharing what with? And are these people really who I need to have in my life, in my circle? Because everybody's cool hanging out around you and being in your space and place when things are going well and it's on and popping and all of that. But when I'm in my lowest and darkest moments, are those same people around? Are they all there? Can I rely upon them? Can I count on them to be my support? Even if it's just simply a listening ear, so I definitely appreciate you sharing that. And of course, obviously, taking it to God and praying on it and asking him to, through his word, to reveal to you what's the way for me to navigate through those situations. So thank you for sharing that. Same question for you, Sarai. When you find yourself faced with challenges, adversities, big or small, doesn't matter, what is the routine, the regiment that you like to follow that helps you to stay focused and locked in as you're trying to deal with whatever it is that's before you?
Honestly, I go to God with everything because God is just now bringing community. So I go to God with everything and I seek him first through everything because he knows me better than anybody. And that's just been my source for the past almost going on 2 years. It's truly just been me and God and the Holy Spirit guiding me in everything that I've went through. So like even when my faith is getting low, I talk to him like if we're talking, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, God, I know that I'm not supposed to be feeling this way, but this is how I'm feeling, and I feel that truly works because he already even knows what we're thinking. He already knows what we're gonna do. So you might as well.
Looked like your sound got interrupted momentarily, but your messaging again is bringing it all to God. He knows you better than anybody around you could possibly know you. And it's such a powerful thing to rely upon him to just, again, it doesn't always have to be something big. It could be as very minute as it can get. The point is that understanding who's in charge, who is the wise counselor that's available to you, who's the comforter, who's the one who can bring peace and serenity to a situation that may be perplexing to you. God is the key for that. And for those of us who have that relationship with him, we understand that. And that's why we're sharing it on this platform with others to let you know that, hey, this is a necessary thing to do, to give it to God, to pour into God, to let him know what's on our hearts and what's on our minds. We know that he already knows, but it's just something about that relationship and wanting to hear it. It's kind of like being in a relationship with somebody that you say that you love them, but they're saying, you know what, you never tell me. Well, you know how I feel. I do know how you feel, but it's just nice to hear, to hear you actually say it. God is the same way. I just want to hear you tell me because it's a sign to me that you're trusting me when you can be vulnerable and pour into me all your hurts, all your pains, all your frustrations, all your pressures. When you can openly and honestly and genuinely lay that upon me, then I know that the trust is strengthening, that bond has been created in a way that now you are, again, dependent upon me as I desire for you to be. And now I can step in and show out. I can show you what it means to be the God that I am, that is just not the hype of it all, that everything that you read about and hear about and sing about and all, that it's all for real. And let me show you now that you've taken that leap of faith, that you've stepped forward, that you trusted me with that mustard seed of faith. You've given me just a little bit. I'm not even asking for much. and just watch me just blow this whole situation up in a magnificent and wonderful way that will just, be amazing to you. And now you can be a testimony, a living testimony to other people that, hey, this God that I keep talking about. He's real. Everything about him, his whole essence, his whole presence. So, I appreciate you sharing that, because it's so necessary that people, fully understand and embrace that. So thank you so much for that.
Well,
So one of the things I'd like to ask, of course, to both of you, and I'll jump back to you, Desiree. If you had a chance to talk to the younger version of you, to that younger version of you who maybe hadn't found her way just yet, didn't know how to really process and handle and the various challenges and obstacles of life, maybe didn't have a clear perspective of her value and her worth and all that she was made of. If you had an opportunity to speak to her or speak to a young lady perhaps that's in that situation right now, what would be your words of wisdom that you would offer up, that you think would be valuable and that you wish you even knew at that time, that you think would help women in that situation have a better perspective and a greater hope and outlook on being able to deal with the challenges of life?
I would tell my younger self and the lady that would hear this, or the young lady that would hear this, is I always want to hear "I love you." That is the most authentic thing you could say to a person when they don't know how to be loved, who will actually love them for real, and also get back up no matter what, and show up. God will put the right people in your life. But if I was my younger self, I would want to hear "I love you," because I didn't get that a lot. Um, because I was always, other places. I mean, people took care of me, they nurtured me. But as far as like loving, I didn't get that from my mom, until I got older. But it's like I'm older now. Like, I don't even know how to handle that sometimes. But yeah, I love you. That was like the most thing that I always wanted to hear. When I used to hear "I love you," it came from a man, and they didn't really mean that authentically. So yeah, I would say that.
Awesome, awesome. And and as a man, I'm gonna take this opportunity to just tell you that I love you. I love everything about you, your journey, your story, your pureness in heart, your vulnerability, your transparency. I love that about you, and I love you as a person. And I think you are every bit of God's gift to this world, and there's magnificent and wonderful things that are yet to be poured out of you that the world is going to be blown away by when they see it. So if you don't hear it any time else today, you heard it from me just right now. So let me just put that out there for you.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Same question for you, Sarai. If you had a chance to talk to the younger version of you, or ladies that might be in that realm right now, even think about the ladies that you're coming alongside, maybe the messaging that you try to tell them, the ones who they don't know their identity, they don't know their worth, the self-esteem is low, they're looking to men to find value instead of realizing the treasures that reside in them. What is the message that you're sharing with them, and if it's the same message, what would that message be to that younger version of you?
Just simply, you are beautiful. No matter what someone says, no matter what another person looks like, you are beautiful because God, your creator, told you you were beautiful. God, your creator, said that you are wonderful. God, your creator, said that you are fearless. Um, so just begin to know who God said that you are, and that's what you are. When things in your head come to say the opposite of that, you say, I know that's not my father, and you begin to recite those things to you, even if you don't believe it. Because even when I came into Christ, I didn't even still believe that I was beautiful. But I told myself every single day that I was beautiful until I began to believe it. And so now when I say that to myself, when I look in the mirror and I say that I'm beautiful, I know that, I feel that, I live that. So just know that you are beautiful. no matter what. I don't care if you have scars. I don't care what that outside looks like. Your inside is beautiful, and that is what's going to reflect on the outside. So just remain in that and begin to start writing those things on your mirrors or wherever you see. Set reminders on your phone that will pop up to let you know those simple things that you need to hear so you're able to feel it and believe it. So when the enemy or even a man or somebody else comes to try to tell you something else, or they say that you're beautiful, you already know that, because I got caught up because someone told me I was beautiful. But if I would have already knew that about myself, I probably wouldn't have got into different cycles or gotten with men who just used that line because the enemy knew that that's I didn't think that I was beautiful. So if I use that word for her, she'll just come with me. So just know that you're beautiful and you're wonderfully made.
Love that. Love that. Great piece of advice, and I'm glad that you're at that stage in life where you recognize the beauty that resides in you. So the same thing for you. If nobody tells you today, I want you to know, Sarai, that you are
Yeah.
beautiful on the outside, on the inside. You have a beautiful spirit about yourself, and you are one of God's beautiful creations, and He has a work in store for you that He's already manifesting. And just as I said to Desiree, you too, in your own unique, divinely specific path, just for you, are about to take this world by storm, sharing and pouring into the lives of other young ladies that need to hear your story, that need to hear your voice, to need to experience your beauty so that they will, from that, experience their own individual beauty again, both inside and out. And it establishes that standard of excellence. So then that way, when it does come to that point of the men coming along the path and wanting to, you know, shoot their shot, if you will, at you, you'll know, is this brother coming at me correct, or is he not ready for me yet? And you won't feel like you have to accept or take low just so that you're not alone. You'll be comfortable being alone just for the purpose of, not that you say that I don't need anybody, but for the sake of, I'm not going to settle. So that's so important, and I love that through your ministry, and that's what you're pouring in, those values into young ladies right now, so that they don't have to make those mistakes, and don't have to sell themselves short unnecessarily. So thank you for sharing that, and continue to shine that beauty that you have inside and out of you. Don't hold it back from anybody, because the world needs more of that. And I'm thankful that you are one of those people that you rely on God to utilize for that purpose. So thank you for that. So, with that said, before I let you ladies go, I do, of course, want to take an opportunity, as we do here on the show, is I want to take an opportunity to love on you, to celebrate you, to acknowledge you, to appreciate you, all of that good stuff. So, if you would tell us, I'm going to jump back to you, Desiree. Tell us, if you got any exciting projects, activities, or just some milestones. I don't care what it is, just something that you want to share with us that we can, again, love on you, acknowledge you, celebrate you on. Please share at this time what's happening with you that we need to know about.
To stay tuned for these new book series. I already have one book out, which is called Lost Kids Alphabet Book, that you can get in person or on Amazon. And I will be at Price Bookstore. I'm trying to figure out, I think it will be January 6th or December 30th, where I would do a little story time and be out there selling my books. And pray that I have another book by then.
Awesome, awesome.
And
And this is this local here in the Dallas area, or?
Yes, it will be off of Northwest Highway at the Half Price Bookstore.
Okay. So for anybody that's listening, if you're in the Dallas area, if you know somebody that's going to be in the Dallas area and you want to have an opportunity to check her out and meet her in person and get that book, and just find out a little bit more about her journey and her story, that's an opportunity for you to do so. So thank you so much for sharing that, and because she has a wonderful story to tell, and again, just pouring into kids, pouring into our youth, giving them some hope and giving them some perspective on the value that they have inside, and why they're so special and why they need to know that. So thank you for that. Same thing to you, Sarai. Exciting news. What's going on? Dive Ministries. Anything else you got going on that we need to know about, connect with? Please share that with us.
yes, so October 28th, we are having an event. It's called God gets the glory out of my life. This will be the domestic violence edition. So, if you've been in a domestic violence situation, and that just doesn't mean physical. So, if it's mentally, spiritually, um, I invite you to come. Even if a relationship have left you where you feel like you don't even know yourself, I invite you to come. I invite you to know if you know um, someone like that, invite them as well. And you can get those tickets on www.diveministry.org. And again, just also browse the website as well, because again, we do work with youth. So we do have a youth program as well for girls 6 through 17. And again, this is just to pour into them and let them know who they are in Christ, because the world will tell them something else and they wind up in all these different things. So we pour the love of God into them, but we also just pour different life experiences as well. And again, where they're able to be vulnerable. I think one of the things is I feel that every child or woman or person needs a mentor, because sometimes we can't go to our parents, even though our parents have open doors. It's just some things that they don't want to express. And so we give them a safe place where they're able to express those things with us. And then if it is something where we have to go to the parent, we're there to go with them to the parent for their support and things like that. So yeah, just go on that website. We also take prayer requests as well. I'm very big on that, and just building community where people feel safe.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, blessings to you for all that you're doing, the work with the ministries and the activities that are coming up. So again, anybody listening, please check this out. If you can attend and you know somebody that could be of value to, this will be of value to, direct them that way, get them a ticket so they could be a part of this event. So again, both of you ladies are just doing some phenomenal works, and I'm excited for you, and just, sitting back and watching how God is using you in a mighty way, and just excited for just the future, what it holds as we close out this year and enter into the next year. And the stories are going to keep coming, the adventures, the activities, the life changing moments are going to keep coming, and just please know that you both have an open invite to come back at any time, so we can further build upon what's going on with your respective ministries and the works that you're doing and the successes that you're having, bringing that connection between Christ and how that relationship applies to our day-to-day walks in life, and why it's such a necessary thing to want to connect with and be a part of. So thank you so much for that. And for those of you who've had an opportunity to listen, first and foremost, I thank you for your patience as we dealt with a few little technical difficulties, but the enemy is like that sometimes. And but as you see, we pushed through, we made it to the end, and that's what's most important. So if you've enjoyed the message that you've gotten today, the content, please subscribe, please like, please comment, please share. Understanding here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is what we're all about: encouraging, it's inspiring, uplifting, pouring into others, taking our own personal stories, our own personal journeys, being transparent and authentic about it, being relatable to you, letting you know that you're not alone in this battle of valley experiences and storms of life. We all have them, but what's important is, what do you do when you're in that moment? Do you allow yourself to be stuck and consumed by it? Or do you say, you know what, I'm going to lean into the one who has the answer, who has the way, who has the foresight that I don't have to get me through this particular season and moment in my life, and getting to the point that we don't even look at our storms as being a negative thing. It's an opportunity. We have to kind of retrain our thinking. This is an opportunity for us to grow and develop, and to get us ultimately to that place, that vision that God has for our lives, that moment in space that we're going to get in, that actually has us serving in our calling, in our purpose. We may not get it all now. It may not all make sense today, but if we lean into that and we trust in that, I promise you will not be disappointed. And again, you'll have an opportunity to not only be blessed, but to be a blessing to other people. So with that said, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and where your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, God bless. Take care of yourselves. Keep fighting that good fight. Quit trying to do life alone. Get your community. Lean into God. Prepare yourself in advance through prayer and staying in His Word so that you can withstand these battles that you're going to be tested against in life. And I promise you, I'm not telling you something that I heard. I'm telling you something that we all know. He is the way. He will make a way. He never disappoints. His record is unblemished and undefeated. It'll be the best decision that you ever make in your life. Until next time, take care of yourselves.